With Mario Kart World on the horizon, along with the GameCube Online release, Nintendo Classics, it certainly does beg the question of, well, what do you think? Mario Kart Double Dash. Yeah, this game is phenomenal. It's very unique compared to many different Mario Kart games, and really it does make me wonder, are we going to be seeing it on the GameCube Classics? Well, it wasn't included in the lineup, but I'm sure it will be added eventually, especially since Mario Kart World is coming up. It's possible they could do it to promote it, or well, it could happen later on since Nintendo probably doesn't want to compete with themselves. Looking at you, eShop closures. So to commemorate the launch of Mario Kart World and the potential Mario Kart Double Dash coming back, let's take a quick look at every single Mario Kart game and then an in-depth look at Mario Kart Double Dash.
You want to know how to tide over 5% of the world's population? Give him a red plumber and a cart and you'll be set for life! Mario Kart, excluding his original purpose of platforming, this is the most popular series he stars in. Yeah, gaming mascot plus trope they aren't even intended for leads to more profit. Well, it's not like I'm a part of that 5%. Want to see what it looks like to grow up with Mario Kart in the 2000s? See, we've got DS, Wii, DS, Wii, and all the other ones. Not you. You get back in there. In all seriousness, it was more like this. My first was Mario Kart DS, Wii following after, and as the years went on, I slowly began to play the Mario Kart series in its entirety. All except this one. Yeah, I started with DS. That's not exactly something special considering so did 3% of the world's population, but this game is a fantastic way to get into the Mario Kart series. It is a fantastic track selection, with mission mode being a cool addition for those of you who don't have friends and hate racing against bots. It was so cool that it was planned for Mario Kart Wii. Did you notice how I said planned and it hasn't returned to the series ever since? Mission mode alone makes this Mario Kart game worth it, and even then, even if you did have friends somehow, this game had the gall to include DS download play. For those of you who didn't grow up in the early 2000s, it was basically where you could play DS games with your friends without needing to own multiple copies of the game. But you still needed to own a DS, but hey, you saved $35. Sure, playing DS download play with Mario Kart DS only gives you a small portion of the tracks you can play, and everyone who doesn't own the game is stuck with fucking Shy Guy. But with just being able to play this game with so many people who own one of the best-selling handhelds holds great potential, and that potential is phenomenal. You could sneak your DS onto the bus, and so long as one person had a copy of the game, you'd be set for the whole trip to and from school. However, you're talking to a kid who always abided by the rules his whole life, so I never actually got to partake in something as magical as this. That's not to say I didn't witness it firsthand a multitude of times. It was insane seeing just how many people enjoyed this game. Eventually, there was one time where my parents were invited on a school trip and they let me take my DS along because they were supervising me, and it was exactly as I had imagined experiencing Mario Kart DS with a bunch of my classmates would be. I wouldn't feel this same experience until my graduation party where I decided to bust out my DS collection for all my friends and family to enjoy, and even though we had those limitations to deal with thanks to download play, these are some memories I hold very close in regards to Mario Kart DS and the Mario Kart series as a whole. For me, you just can't go wrong with DS. It's got a fantastic single-player and multiplayer experience. Now, like any self-proclaimed Mario Kart DS fan, they followed up their time with the series next with Mario Kart Wii, and Wii it is. I always hear people calmly complain about this game being too overrated. Apparently the graphics look like shit, motion controls bogged down this game, and something about I don't know. My only real complaint about this game for me personally is the balloon battle changed for the worst, and we no longer have a stock type system. Rather a point-based one, and every Mario Kart that followed after did the same. If you went back and told 9-year-old me the balloon battle for Mario Kart DS is as good as it's gonna get, I would have shit. I don't know, I actually really enjoyed this one. Just don't use motion controls, put those nostalgia glasses on, and enjoy this game for what it's worth. The tracks. There are some kick-ass tracks here. Koopa Cape, Maple Treeway, Grumble Volcano, Wario Goldmine, and Coconut Mall. As a Mario Kart fan who plays the game for the tracks only would say, the list goes on and on. Even the more annoying tracks I dislike, like DK Summit, are special to me because this was the final track I played at a local library tournament and won. Got some cool Mario Kart candies as a prize and went sledding a few hours later. I just realized how ironic that was. Mario Kart Wii is totally great in my book. Then Mario Kart 7 came along and it's fantastic. You ever wanted to know what it's like to combine Mario Kart DS and Wii? Well, you're looking at it right here with the newfangled numbered entry. Technically, Mario Kart 64 was the first numbered entry, but that doesn't mean it was the 64th entry in the series. Just a branding thing that Nintendo does, and I hate it just as much as the next guy. Yeah, I don't really get why Nintendo thought it was a good idea to start using numbers, because I guess they gave up on trying to find original titles, but if you want to get smart with someone, you could say this is actually the Mario Kart 9 you've all been waiting for. Yeah, there were some Mario Kart arcade games and that were released before Mario Kart 7, so technically this is 9, but those don't count since they're not mainline.
Son of a... My tax documents are all wrong!
wrong!
Yeah, to most people, they just say that Mario Kart 7 is another Mario Kart game. But to me, it means a whole lot more than that. You cannot believe how insane it was to use download play with someone who doesn't own the game and see that every track is available to be played. Sure, that stupid Shy Guy was still there, but if the Mario Kart DS manual says he's special, then I'm not complaining. The track selection is the best here. Even the retro tracks are top pick. We've got Airship Fortress, Calamari Desert, Koopa Cape, Woohoo Courses, Waluigi Pinball, even the tracks I ended up disliking I ended up loving, such as with SNES Rainbow Road now being my favorite Mario Kart track of all time. There was this joke with my friends where I said, don't pick SNES Rainbow Road because it's a horrible track and I always lose on it. And they picked it more times than I'd like to disclose, and it just so happens that I got extremely good at the track. Yeah, you can now fly and go through water. I think it's really cool, but I wish Mario Kart 8 didn't make those return and ruin the uniqueness of this game. The gameplay. It's Mario Kart, but with a twist, and was certainly more original when it came out. This is probably a very underrated opinion, but I didn't like the customizable parts. I just usually pick the same parts, and I'm like, whatever. With other Mario Kart games, I would actually be inclined to pick the cactus. Alright, so we're 3 Mario Kart games down, and I'm liking them all. How much longer until I start being called a fanboy? This game is just okay. Yeah, this is coming from a guy who asked for a used copy of Mario Kart Super Circuit for Christmas, and I got as much as one would be able to get out of a used copy of Mario Kart Super Circuit for Christmas would be able to get. This is just a Mario Kart game in my eyes. Nothing really horrible or special about it. It does exactly what it should be doing. Being a Mario Kart game in the GBA I barely experienced. I played Cartoon Network Speedway more than Mario Kart Super Circuit. Is that saying something? Alright, moving on right down the list of mine. What do we got next? Oh, broke childhood me. Yeah, I never owned a physical copy of this next game. That's gotta mean it's great, right? What the fuck is this? Super Mario Kart in the SNES is something that's fun to experience, but it isn't fun to play for more than 5 minutes. Cheating AI, wonky physics, a life system, and my Mario Kart? Get the hell out of here! No wonder I never owned a physical copy of this game along with 95% of the SNES games I played. This? No. This? Yes. Mario Kart 64 is the epitome of every person's first Mario Kart and college bachelor. You really couldn't go wrong with this one and a couple of friends. Now Mario Kart 8 on the other hand, boy, I've got a few choice words to say about this one that I'm sure won't get me into trouble. For starters, all this game really does new is it's the first Mario Kart game on home consoles in HD and has some wonky zero gravity mechanic that doesn't really do a whole lot in my eyes. Sure, we got 200cc, sure we got non-Mario characters here, even though Mario Kart DS did it first, and sure we got DLC, but with every good there's a bad. Why make the game shit only to add DLC later to fix its horrible track selection? Why does this game run at 59 frames instead of 60? Why did Nintendo continue to shovel Koopalings down my throat? Why does this game have to steal the thunder from 7 only to people to crap on that game and not this one? Why is the stupid kart customization back? And what the hell is this battle mode? For real, it got worse in Mario Kart Wii, only for them to continue it in 7 even though it was doing just fine, I guess. They made something with bad potential even worse! Who thought it was a good idea to just say, okay guys, let's rush the game out by making tracks you drive around only meant for driving, not battle mode. At this point, you shouldn't even include battle mode at all! You know those people who are sick of Nintendo replicating Star Fox 64? That's me, only with Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 DX, sure, it only makes sense to re-release a game that was the best selling on a failure of a console and not release Mario Kart 9. But this game is 8 in the title, so it's gotta share some of its sins. So, what did they fix for Mario Kart 8? Well, they finally fixed the battle mode, made it actually good, made the DLC free, and added purple sparks to your cars. Oh, and they brought back Dry Bones and King Boo. That makes me slightly less pissed. However, I look back on my life and I realized I paid $60 for Mario Kart 8 plus its $20 DLC. They then later released Mario Kart 8 DX for $60. If you combine all that together, that leads to $140 I'm not going to be getting back.
Not to mention, of course, the additional DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is an additional $20, so that's even more money that's being spent, not even mentioning tax. While this is a cool little, I guess you could say, refresher to the series in the middle, and the stages are pretty neat overall, and it's cool we got Kamek and other cool characters too, I do think it was a little excessive, but I guess I can see why Nintendo did that since we're waiting for Mario Kart World, so I don't know. An accurate response for someone who doesn't know? It's more Mario Kart 8 content. I am in the middle about this. And now for Mario Kart Double Dash.
Alright, so Mario Kart Double Dash. This is the latest GameCube game I own. Could you tell by the high price point? Let's pop this sucker in, enable progressive scan, and see what sort of no life I've been missing out on. Yeah, this game doesn't play like your typical Mario Kart if you couldn't tell by Shotgun Driver. For starters, it's got weird physics. Some Mario Kart games had weird physics, but they all drove pretty well. As time went on, Mario Kart started to have a very similar feel. You could play entry after entry without really noticing any big issue or being forced to rethink your whole life. Mario Kart Double Dash, on the other hand, you turn to the left and before you know it, you're fishtailing all over the place and then this happens. This game is sort of a very loose control scheme. Feels like most of the time when you're turning, I'm gonna flip this cart into a ditch and call 911 because Wario crash landed on top of me. That isn't the only thing that bothers me about it. This game isn't very forgiving with your mistakes, especially with the item system, making this not very newcomer friendly. I swear, the AI for those new red shells just goes on a vacation sometimes that makes you just want to throw the game. This entry certainly takes some time getting used to, however, all this isn't necessarily a bad thing. You can pull off some crazy stuff once you get the hang of it. Drifting all over the place, dodging stupid red shells, freaking punching racers and stealing their items used for your own cause, and snaking. Drifting is arguably the most good and bad thing in this game. You can charge up your drift by holding either L or R triggers and quickly tapping the left or right stick. Once done enough times, you'll create blue sparks, which only gives you an extremely slight boost. However, it's super easy to charge these boosts if you understand the controls super well, and can result in some insane skill. Looking back at some of my old footage of me trying to drift for the first time with this game, it reminds me of how Donkey Kong and Bowser would drive like a drunk camel on Mario Kart DS. Does anyone else remember those two being called that in Mario Kart DS? Hell, you can even dodge blue shells if you're good enough, which is insane! The devs took and changed up a lot of aspects for traditional Mario Kart, making it seem like this would have been a disaster, but it's more like a breath of fresh air. There is even a better reason to pick different characters rather than just for stupid weights. And yes, you can pick up to 2 characters, which is pretty freaking cool. It's like living the tag team duo of your life. Each character has their own special set of items you can get just by simply having them in your cart. Mario and Luigi get a wide spread shot of fireballs, Bowser and Bowser Jr. get a comedically sized shell that can cause some actual chaos. Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong get a giant banana peel that has a much bigger hitbox and causes drivers to spin out for a bit longer, and upon being hit splits into 3 smaller bananas. Peach and Daisy get heart magic that allows them to steal other players' items with ease. That explains how she was able to do away with Bowser so easily in Inside Story. Wario and Waluigi get the Ba-Bomb, Baby Mario and Baby Luigi get a Chain Chomp, which is kind of like an early Bullet Bill. Yoshi and Birdo get an egg that I feel has a much better AI than those stupid red shells, and upon hitting someone, it pops out 3 random droppable items, which sometimes can even be a star. Toad and Toadette give you the Golden Mushroom, which I feel, if you're struggling to win races, this is the best way to do it. Plus, dodge blue shells. And finally, there is King Boo and Petey Piranha, that can get every special item at random if you just like that sort of thing, or if you don't really care for the new ways that items are handled. The game does encourage a much more competitive playstyle, and usually I'm not fond of that kind of stuff, but at least it's something that feels rewarding once you finally get there. Kinda reminds me of a certain platform this video is on. However, we haven't even gotten to the best part of this game yet, pairing up with a friend. You and a buddy, or it doesn't have to be buddy, I don't judge, can team up in one cart with one just simply driving the cart while the other works on managing items to help give you the competitive edge. It isn't even just item management, you can punch other players to wipe them out to steal their items exclusively in this mode, including their specials. It is possible to do this in single player, but it's done automatically rather than a button press if your weight is bigger than your opponent's. It doesn't just end there, however, you both can help pull off boosts, so with twice the rocking of the analog stick, you can rack up those mini turbos in style. Of course, you both need to be competent when playing this mode. Just like the game itself with having high risk, high reward, if you slip up, you're going to slip up badly and most likely not be able to recover. Your buddy needs to use mushrooms at the right time. There has to be consistent communication in the room you're playing with, and most importantly, you both need to do your part if you want to win. There's even still the ability to switch racers, which I thought at first wasn't working, but that's because you need to both click the Z button at the same time, which adds an even bigger incentive to work together. Of course, you don't have to switch at all during a race and just simply keep things the way they are, but you do still need to do your part if you want to be able to have the highest possibility of winning, and it's even more worthwhile in the end once you pull it off. Speaking of, the unlockability system for this game is something I actually felt compelled to put effort into. Sure, you need to place first in each CC license category, but the rewards are actually pretty nice, with some new battle mode stages you can get, characters, and carts. It can feel like somewhat of a drag, and the devs noticed this in later entries where you just need to beat the higher CCs in order to unlock it all. But if you have a couple of buddies over and have that hankering 100% Double Dash, trust me on this, you'll have a grand old time. In fact, I felt so unmotivated from previous Mario Karts to complete that CC license that I ended up unlocking and beating the new cup only in this game with my friends, the All Cup Tour. 16 races, an endurance test, and you only start and end with the same tracks. This cup will put you at your paces, especially in higher CCs. After hours of fun and yelling at my friends, we finally got that gold trophy on All Cup Tour. Only on 100cc. Yeah, we just couldn't do it due to time constraints at the time for 150cc and settled on that silver trophy. And I also made this joke to my friend. Since he used to play CSGO competitively, I jokingly said, looks like we got that silver too. Like I said, this cup is relentless, and you need to pull out all the stops you want to get that gold trophy. The worst of all is that you get nothing for getting a gold trophy on 50cc and 100cc besides that trophy and satisfaction. My friends and I were furious about this for just a short while, until we all said, is what it is, and went straight into 150cc, and it is bullcrap. There's always this one cheating AI on 150cc where if you don't do something about them, they're going to be unstoppable, and rarely does RNG screw them over. It's going to screw you over, if anything. For this review, I at least want to unlock all the characters in this game's new license at the time. Being Mirror Mode. Would you have to get a gold trophy 150cc if you want to get Mirror Mode? Once you do that, just beat the Star Cup on Mirror Mode, which is every track in reverse 150cc, and you get yourself King Boo and PD Piranha. I enjoyed this game so much with my friends that I want to save the rest of the cups for us when they're finally able to come over again, and we get to take that dreaded Mirror Mode all cup tour on. But for now, I at least want to say that I am finally able to give a proper judgment to this game. Just about everything feels different compared to a normal Mario Kart game. I mean, look at this, just look at this! Besides the frame rate and a couple of tweaks, it's pretty much the same Mario Kart game. Yeah, I know it's a deluxe edition of a port, but we're currently in a Mario Kart drought, and no stupid microtransaction mobile game or 1 hour battery life AR Kart Racer spin-off is gonna fix that. Mario Kart Double Dash will set the groundwork for future entries to come, and it's perfected it in a way we have yet to see topped. It's an entry that Nintendo hasn't returned back to formula-wise, and the only thing I feel similar charm is Mario Kart DS, but that's only because there was similar voice clips, and the most memorable tracks were there. The single player of Mario Kart DS is fantastic, but it kind of exists in Double Dash with all its fantastic unlockables. Just kind of, since it's best played with friends, but you can't do that in DS with mission mode. Like I said earlier, even though I don't care for competitive games, this one is fantastic with friends, and I feel like the changes done to Mario Kart Double Dash were for the better rather than being the worst. I really do enjoy the feeling of proactivity throughout the entirety of a race. Most Mario Kart games, you're just in first place with nothing really happening. This game, it's a struggle to stay in first place, and I do like that considering that Mario Kart games just feel like they're being copy and pasted at this point, or Nintendo is just trying to have an excuse to continue the franchise. It certainly began to feel like I was judging Mario Kart games now based on what tracks they have, with Mario Kart 7 certainly taking the cake in that regard, and Mario Kart 8 just being meh. Double Dash has some pretty alright tracks, except for Rainbow Road. I mean, come on, how do they think this was a good idea to have a camera so zoomed in and not being able to see what you're supposed to do? This is an artificial challenge. I mean, come on, how am I supposed to see anything while drifting down this spiral? You have no time to react! Other than that one though, these tracks are pretty good I'd say, mostly because I've had experience with a lot of the retro track cups in later Mario Kart games that included a good majority of them. Just because of how unique Double Dash is, I feel that deserves its own category. It's just that special. I've got my own personal Mario Karts that are nostalgic to me, the ones that I can stand and the ones I don't want to touch with a 5,000 foot pole, but what is there to be said about this game that hasn't already been told? It truly is a joyride all the way from start to finish and is best with friends. Actually, I know what hasn't been said. This game has local area network support, or LAN play for short. Because of this, you're able to have up to a 16-player Double Dash game. That's the most players any Mario Kart game has had to date. This game is just full of surprises, and a lot of what it hasn't been done again. It's a completely original Mario Kart game aside from it being Mario Kart. If you ever get the chance to get this title for a decent price, I mean, what doesn't break your bank? Pick this one up with friends or family and be prepared for a phenomenal time. Now, I just need to get that 16-player LAN game off my bucket list. I crunched the numbers, and I don't think I'll be getting that anytime soon.
Well, while I didn't get it anytime soon, I was at least able to play it surprisingly soon, so I guess a bit of an editor's note there. And honestly, it was as fun as a 8-player LAN game could be a Mario Kart Double Dash. It was fun. And I don't know how many people exactly really experience that, considering it's, well, pretty complicated to do so. So I'm glad I was able to experience it in the fullest of an 8-hole GameCube setup. And it was also in a tournament, so I got to win 3rd place twice. Yeah, I mentioned that already, but that was pretty freaking cool. Overall, though, I do think Mario Kart Double Dash will eventually come to the GameCube Online since, Nintendo Classics. It's going to get hard to get used to, well, because we have Super Mario Kart 64 and Super Circuit, so it only makes sense to have Mario Kart Double Dash come out. Well, it should have came out already because it's actually the 3rd entry. With that being said, then let me know what you think down below. Do you have any memories of Mario Kart Double Dash? Are you looking forward to play this gem? You haven't played it before. With that being said, I will see you all later and have a great time zone. Bye-bye.